What up racer, it's Jerome here, and finally welcome back to another League Racing video. You might ask yourself, where have these videos been? Well, that is due to a lack of attendance during the final two races, as you'll see in this final video, where I will try to basically give a 5-minute summary of both the races, and after that I will talk shortly about the final standings of the season and discuss for myself how my season went. Anyways, we are already underway for Canada, and my aim here was to basically set a banker lap on softs but then brake for the finish line. And I invalidated my banker lap anyways, then tried to qualify on the mediums, spun it, and that was it basically. Oh yeah, I also did a third run on the softs, but I noticed I would probably only be good enough for P5, so I just decided to not put in a time at all. That's why I'm in P7. Got off to quite a good start, but couldn't really get alongside Tin Can and decided to avoid an incident there. So I'll just slot in behind for now. I don't want to run Tin Can's race either. And I believe Terra Racer was the only one who also qualified on the mediums in this 7-horse race. And got through the first corners, no damage at all. And then on lap 4, I think Tin Can had a bit of damage, and that's why we're only 2.5 seconds behind Terra Racer in P5. So decided to go down the inside of Tin Can here. Ran extremely deep, but I still managed to stay quite close for the cutback, and now we have ERS and DRS assistance, so we just fly past him. And I also had to say I didn't really particularly practice for this race, and I was also quite hungover, so I wasn't really expecting big things from myself, but of course everyone else who had started on the softs had pitted on lap 11, and surprisingly Terra Racer actually went into the pits on lap 11, and my plan was to do a medium soft stint, but since Terra Racer went quite early in my opinion, I actually decided to do something completely different, and that would be a one-stop medium to hards. And I'm not exactly sure about how fast all sorts of strategies are around this race. I do believe the medium hard's actually a bit of the slower strategy, to be honest, but as I said, I just wanted to try something different. I managed to get ahead of Simu, who had spun on lap 6 or something, so he was doing a recovery drive basically. But lap 28 I have a 3-second time penalty, Terra has a 3-second time penalty, and Pedro has no time penalties. Since it's lap 28 both have done their second stop, and Terra is out again on a fresh set of mediums, and he was a lot faster, so I decided to let him go here. But then immediately I mess up by getting a warning for corner cutting, which meant I'd got my 6-second time penalty, and I only managed to stay in his DRS for a single lap. So that wasn't ideal. Then later on in the race also Pedro overtook me, but I was able to stick in his DRS, and on the last lap, as you can see, I have 3 seconds more of time penalty, so this is more a move for pride, for second place. I had saved up quite a lot of ERS, as you can see, closing in rapidly, fully alongside as we go through the chicane. And yeah, I just didn't want to risk anything. Would have been extremely stupid if I had tried to stick it in there. I think the risk for damage for both of us would have been very high, so in the end decided to just stay behind, consolidate P3. Well, I wouldn't have been able to get P2 anyways, P2 on track, but not P3 in the race results. And that means I had jumped Tin Can up to 4th place since he retired from that session. So now we move on to the final race, which is Brazil, and it will be drying qualifying, but completely intermediate conditions throughout the race. And I didn't really have a setup for the wet, so as you can see now, I was just basically guessing, making up a setup on the fly, and as you can see, this is in the end what I came up with. I managed to somehow snag pole position, even on this wet setup, but yeah, others probably did have a better wet setup than I had, so you'll probably see that in this race as well. As we come from pole position, 5 red lights are on once again. Solid Ninja P2, Pedro P3, Ralph P4, and it's quite a horrible start getting wheel spin in 3rd gear, but Solid Ninja goes down my inside as we go side by side through the Senna S's. But I do decide to let him go here, as I really was trying to just find my feet. Wasn't particularly confident on the first lap, of course, when it's intermediate conditions. And Solid actually runs quite a bit wide here, and also leaves plenty of space, but I just couldn't get the traction down really. Now actually Pedro is kind of attacking me, and as you can see here, I just get a snap of oversteer again. Although I think the setup actually was quite understeery, so I'm not sure. I think looking back at this in hindsight, or at the time of driving, I was quite eager to basically play my setup, but I think it's more my throttle application which had hurt me throughout this first lap and also throughout the whole race basically, because as you can see, just get a little snap again, which means Pedro can get away a bit and I'm coming under pressure from Ralph. So you could say I was still finding my feet a bit, but I never really got on top of these conditions throughout the whole race, I would say, as I also run deep into turn 1 again, which then puts me under pressure from Ralph throughout the Senna S's. As you can see, got a bit onto the white paint, which meant I once again got a snap of oversteer, but I did manage to hold the position for now. But then later on into the lap, run a bit deep again, and once again just a big snap of oversteer. And I tried to upshift early to try and get the power down as early as possible, but I think my setup was so oversteered that the front end of the car just didn't react, and once again just getting onto the power too early, too eager to get onto the throttle. And if I hadn't caught that, I probably would have swiped Simu, who decides to go down my inside. I decided to basically cover the middle of the track, and for this move I decided to brake a bit early to try and get a switchback move on him, but he braked very well and managed to basically get the position done on me. So yeah, I didn't really particularly have the first pace in the first 7 laps, but after 7 laps the gap to Pedro in second actually was quite stable. But my tire wear was also very harsh with this setup, so I quite early decided that a 2-stop would be the way to go in this race. And I actually got a 2-lap undercut on everyone, which means I was able to get ahead of Simu again. So we're back in this race basically. Although I do of course have less fresh tires for this stint. But as you will see now, going on to lap 16, I actually also managed to undercut Ralph. So I'm back up to 3rd place right now. And at the time I was sort of feeling a bit more comfortable, but as I said, I never really mastered these conditions, and just once again a little snap there, and that invites the pressure on me from Simu, who decides to use quite a lot of overtake. So I decided to turn on my overtake again. This time I defended the inside fully, but yeah, he was just more confident on the brakes really, and as you can see, he got the place done, although I think he did a little corner cut there, but that's fine, I didn't really care too much. And yeah, coming on to lap 19 now. Still up to this point, I don't know why the car got away from me. Like, I felt like I had done exactly the same thing throughout the previous laps, so I don't know. But fortunately for me, a lap later, you can see Pedro has retired from the session, and he probably lost it on this curb right here, which meant he had put it into the wall, and a full cost safety car is out. But of course I still wanted to change my wing, and I couldn't really do it here, so I was kind of panicking whether my crew would change it or not, but fortunately they did. So for the restart, as you can see, Simu actually pulled into the pit lane because he had a drive-through penalty, which is unfortunately for him because he's now basically out of this session, which means I get promoted up to a podium position again, up to P3. But I do have a 3-second time penalty at this stage, and nobody else around me had. And yeah, tire wear was very harsh, ending the race on 77%, but I'm more than 4 seconds ahead of Tescal, which means I managed to claim 3rd place, and that would be a quadruple podium streak for me to end off AOR, although it isn't exactly, of course, impressive anymore since there are only a few drivers left. But that's the end of the season basically. Managed to finish in 3rd place. Solid Ninja got the win in the final race, and he actually got quite close to me. But talking about my season as a whole, started off with lag issues in Austria, then basically binned it in Japan, good race in Silverstone where I was unlucky not to finish P4, good podium in Hungary, and overall I would say the progression throughout this season is definitely visible, I think, in terms of the results. And I must say I really enjoyed driving in AOR for my first league. I think it was, yeah, competitive enough for me, and I learned quite a lot throughout the season. So everyone who's still listening to this video, thanks for the clean driving, and more likely than not I will be back for another season of AOR when the new game comes out. Talking about videos I will make, I'll have 3 more videos, 2 multiplayer videos and 1 where I'll try to beat 110% AI around some track. But that's it for the video, guys. If you did enjoy the video, then I would massively appreciate it if you could hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.